Good morning and welcome to Metro's board activities for February 27th. To start us off, I'll ask our Chief Safety and Readiness Officer, Teresa Ambasado, to read today's safety contact.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the event of an alarm activation, we'll exit this conference room via the glass doors and proceed into the lobby awaiting further instructions from the security team. If we are instructed to exit the building, I'll lead the group to our designated assembly point while the security team coordinates with first responders. There's an AED located at the entry desk, and in the event of a medical emergency, I'll retrieve the AED and render aid while we await emergency services. Lastly, restrooms are located in the vestibule area adjacent to this room. Did you know that the 5 longest escalators in the United States are Metro escalators? The longest escalator located at Wheaton Station is over 230 feet long. We work hard to keep our escalators in top shape and safe for all. Here are some tips for customers to keep yourself safe when using escalators. Always stand facing forward and hold the handrail to keep your balance. Never ride on the handrail. Hold small children by the hand and don't allow them to sit or play on the escalator. Avoid bringing large objects like bicycles or oversized luggage on escalators. Use the elevator instead. If your child is in a stroller, do not use the escalator. Use an elevator instead to keep them and yourself safe. Stay clear of moving parts. Keep your hands, feet, and clothing clear of the side panels of the escalator. Make sure to secure all shoelaces. Otherwise, they could become caught in moving parts of the escalator. When exiting, exit promptly from the escalator. Never stop, stand, or play at an escalator landing, as this can cause a dangerous pileup. Lastly, report any escalator outages or other concerns to a uniformed team member. For additional information, visit the WMATA Rider Guide. This concludes our safety contact.
Thank you very much. So I apologize that we're running a little bit late today. We're actually going to start with Finance Committee due to my own schedule limitations. So our first order of business. Oh, I'm sorry. I first need to have the board secretary call the roll. Jennifer.
Chair Santos.
Present.
Vice Chair Smedberg.
Present.
Vice Chair McAndrew.
Present.
Alternate Director Rye.
Present.
Alternate Director Worth.
Present.
Director Letourneau.
Present.
Director Drummer.
Present.
Director Martin Proctor.
Good morning.
Mr. Chair, you have quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Ellison. Okay, the first order of business for our meeting today is to approve our agenda. I'd like to move approval of the agenda as presented. Are there any objections by members of the committee to the agenda? Hearing none, the agenda is approved as presented. Now to the approval of the minutes. We have the minutes of our January 30th meeting before us for approval. Are there any objections to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, we'll consider the minutes approved as presented. So we have one item on our agenda. It's a continuation of our budget discussion. We have some good news, which is that based on higher than projected ridership and revenue in the current fiscal year, staff is actually coming forward and providing us with a revised proposed FY 2026 budget that reflects those increased revenue projections and allows Metro to use less capital funding for preventive maintenance activities. I will turn the floor over to our CFO and finance team.
Good morning, Chair Letourneau and members of the board. My name is Yetunde Olumide. I'm the Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer. This morning, I'm joined by my colleague, Tom Webster, Executive Vice President of Planning and Performance. We'll be presenting the revised FY26 proposed budget and 27 forecast. The document entitled Revised FY26 Proposed Budget and 27 Forecast provides more information on the budget and 6-year CIP. I'll focus on changes to the FY26 proposed budget submitted to the board back in December. So let me start with changes we made to revenue and ridership. Ridership and revenue have shown consistent recovery since FY21, with both metrics surpassing projections in FY24. The FY24 ended with 242 million trips and $356 million in passenger revenues, reflecting increased rider confidence and higher paid ridership across both rail and bus modes. For FY25, actual ridership to date and projections for the remainder of the year continue this trend, with 257 million trips and $434 million in revenue expected by the end of the fiscal year. While trending in the right direction, ridership and revenue projections remain below FY19 levels. Increases in passenger revenue of $20 million in FY26 and $29 million in FY27 are projected from the initial FY26 proposed budget and 27 forecasts submitted in December. This brings passenger revenue to $464 million in FY26 and $482 million in FY27. These revisions are based on the FY25 mid-year update I provided to the board in January, with key drivers including strengthening ridership growth and improved trip mix and ongoing revenue recovery efforts. As passenger revenues continue to grow, it helps reduce the practice of the past few years of relying on capital funds to balance the operating budget. I'm referring to the practice of transferring operating maintenance expenses, also known as preventive maintenance transfers, to the capital budget. The FY26 proposed budget submitted to the board in December includes a total PM transfer of about $129 million, $69 million above the historical $60 million. The FY27 forecast in December budget includes a total PM transfer of about $160 million. Based on the revised revenue projections I mentioned earlier, for both FY26 and 27, the total PM in FY26 will decrease by $20 million from $129 to about $109 million. And for FY27, total PM is projected to decrease by about $29 million. As previously mentioned, these revisions reflect strengthened ridership recovery and improved trip mix and ongoing efforts as well to optimize revenues. Total subsidy requirements for FY26 and 27 remain the same at $1.9 billion in FY26 and $1.98 billion in FY27. For the 6-year CIP, revisions to the FY25 forecast include the addition of unspent prior year funds for certain capital projects that have scheduled delays, and reductions in preventive maintenance funding have added an additional $443 million in capacity for FY26 through 31 to this CIP. Key increases in the uses of funds include rail systems, track and structure rehabilitation for about $145 million, stations and passenger facilities for about $207 million, addressing critical infrastructure needs. These adjustments ensure that funding is directed toward essential system improvements and enhancements while maintaining a balanced approach across all investment categories. Mr. Chair, that concludes our presentation. We're happy to take any questions from the board at this time.
Thank you very much. We will have questions. We'll start with members of the Finance Committee. Are there any questions from members of the Finance Committee? Okay. Are there questions from other members of the board? Being none.
Maybe just a quick comment.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just a quick comment, which is again to say thank you so much, because I know the board has been peppering you all with, and your teams, with many questions to understand the budget. So just acknowledging it's been a heavy lift, and appreciating the savings that have been found in addition to the performance that has allowed increased revenue. So I know on behalf of the board, we really appreciate all the hard work. And I know that the JCC, the staff level is meeting, if I understand correctly, today to discuss more in depth. So the fact that we're not asking questions is because we're deferring to the experts to really get into the numbers directly. And we are, we'll be continuing to take this up once the board actually moves towards a vote next month or soon thereafter. Thanks.
Okay. And yeah, I mean, obviously goes without saying, but we're very pleased with the ridership increases, the revenue increases. We are providing the service that people need. Obviously, there's differences in return to work policies, and we're seeing that out there in the system. And so it makes sense that we're able to revise upward, but nevertheless, you know, it's still worth acknowledging the work that's gone into making sure that we have that service there for people as they need it, and there is a positive budget impact to that. So, okay. Well, with no further business to come before the Finance Committee, then I will turn the floor over. I'll be going to Executive Committee to Chair Santos. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. All right, our first order of business for the Executive Committee is approval of the agenda. So we have today's agenda in front of us for approval. Are there any objections by members of the committee? Hearing none, the agenda is approved as presented. Now to the approval of minutes. We have minutes from our meeting on January 30th and executive session on February 13th before us for approval. Are there any objections to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, we'll consider the minutes approved. We have only one item on today's agenda, which is the annual report on Metro's strategic transformation plan titled Your Metro, The Way Forward, and the progress Metro has made over the past year in implementing its goals. Metro is releasing a full, detailed report on progress on the STP, as it's called, following today's meeting. Will be available on the website. But this morning, we've invited the staff to provide highlights of key initiatives. The board has been updated quarterly about a number of these initiatives, but we thought it, particularly given the various achievements and progress made this year across multiple categories, to invite the among the leadership to present on highlights of these initiatives and accomplishments from the past year. With that, turning it over to Kimmy and Sarah, please.
Great, thank you. Good morning, Chair Santos, members of the Executive Committee, and members of the board. My name is Kimmy Feldbauer. I am Chief of Staff, and I'm joined here by my colleague, Sarah Meyer, Chief Customer Experience and Transformation Officer. And on behalf of all 13,000 of our colleagues, we have the privilege today to share our annual transformation update with you all. So it has been 2 years now since the initial adoption of the Strategic Transformation Plan, Your Metro, The Way Forward. And in 2024, we had a lot of accomplishments. We approved our 2025 Better Bus Network that we get to implement later this summer. We've updated our subsidy formulas, launched the DMV moves with our partners in the region, and December marked 45 consecutive months of ridership growth. So it was a tremendous year in 2024, and this annual transformation report is going to provide an update over the year, highlight some progress profiles that we've shared with you over the last year, and also an overview of metrics. You all have a hard copy of the transformation annual report with you on the dais, and then also this QR code will take you directly to our website, which is also at wmata.com/STP. And with that, I'll hand it over to you, Sarah.
Great. Thank you, Kimmy. Thank you, Kimmy. So this represents a roll-up of a 60-page report that I'm holding up here, and includes the highlights around service excellence, talented teams, regional opportunity and partnership, financial sustainability, and environmental sustainability. Customer satisfaction has improved over the past 2 years, reaching record highs on rail and bus. And after implementing ATO, 94% of customer trips on the Red Line are now on average 2 minutes faster than they were last year. Later this morning, Jordan and Tom will be doing a deeper dive into our service excellence stats, including a particular deep dive into the Metro Access target, which we missed. On financial sustainability, I know we just had a presentation and we've all been laser focused on these priorities. As we grapple with these fiscal challenges, we've been particularly focused on improving track access efficiencies on our nightly preventative and corrective maintenance work, removing duplicative tasks and communications to speed up the process of physically getting crews to start work, leading to a 46% increase in median weekday wrench time. A new productivity report is issued daily. We are continuing to address customer-identified pain points, getting customers access to information when and where they need it, making our wayfinding clearer, especially to those new to the area. We just revealed our new customer-friendly fare machine redesign at L'Enfant Plaza, which was inspired by a local college student's design, and we're happy to report initial great feedback from the AAC, and we will continue to roll this out over the next year. We've added many more printed maps to our stations, especially on lower level platforms, and we've removed phone booths and replaced them with screens at 22 rail stations, and 140 bus stops now have real-time information. We also cracked the older code on our 7K screens, allowing us to remove outdated words like rideshare, car share, and added more relevant landmarks like museums and attractions. We are also working really hard at making it easier to pay. We did take a small step backwards when we reintroduced variable pricing on evenings and weekends, but our customers have been using our mobile wallet products with efficiency and ease. We've also right-sized the number of our new fare vending machines to be purchased, returning $20 million back to the capital program. Kids Ride Free Mobile is continuing to grow and usage is up. We are also working on new mailers that will target key customer groups, zip codes where complaint data is particularly high, and those that are also new to the area who live close to a metro station will be getting postcards that will be physically mailed, telling them about our recent additions to the frequency of service and our safety stats as well. As part of the STP, we did make small changes to Appendix A located in the document, consolidating categories. We did not remove anything, but we did consolidate some of those metrics to remove complexity and make the data a bit easier to comprehend and to read. We're looking forward to collaborating with the board further on iterating the metrics we are tracking to improve next year's report, making it even more relevant to our complex challenges. I want to thank my colleagues, Jeff, Jamie, Ramin, and Jordan, particularly in getting this annual report completed. And of course, to Kimmy for her leadership as well. And I'll hand this to you for next steps.
Thank you, Sarah. As we move forward in fiscal year 26, we will have the opportunity to update the strategic plan as part of our triennial update. That is a commitment that we have per Virginia's Commonwealth Code. And we have to do that by next summer. And so later this summer, in the beginning of fiscal year 2026, but like August of 2025, we will begin the process of updating the strategic plan. And like Sarah said, have the opportunity to work with the board to update metrics and update the cadence of how we report and how the look and feel of our strategic plan goes forward. So this will ensure that the plan is keeping with the current progress, the conditions and vision of Metro, and that the strategic plan remains our North Star. So with that, thank you for allowing us to present today, and we'll have time for any questions or comments.
Thank you very much. I do have a comment, but I want to invite my colleagues if any questions or reflections on the STP. Okay, just two quick things. Well, starting off with thank you so much. I know that generating the report is a big lift. So again, on behalf of the board, I know the first time that Sarah was presenting a draft, it was overwhelming in a positive sense, which is there's so much data. So want to highlight that I think that this report is the plan is a good example of how Metro is really transformed into data-driven, performance-oriented organization. It is a showcase of how the organization is really focused on leveraging technology and good practices to improve the quality and efficiency of both our system and the organization itself. So kudos to you all and obviously to the general manager and broader team. Also want to highlight how the strategic plan also, I think, exhibits how Metro is really stepping into its role about being a world-class system for a global city. So again, thank you, and we look forward to the next update. All right. Oh, yeah, okay. With no further business to come before the committee, we stand adjourned. I'll turn the floor over to Director Drummer to begin the Safety Committee meeting.
Thank you, Chair Santos, and welcome to the Board Safety and Operations Committee. Our first order of business is to approve the agenda. Are there any objections by members of the committee to the agenda as amended? Hearing none, the agenda is approved as presented. Now to approval of the minutes of our January 30th meeting. Are there any objections to the minutes? Hearing none, I will consider the minutes approved. We have one update on today's agenda, Metro's Quarterly Service Excellence Report. Today's report will cover the second quarter of fiscal year 2025, namely October through December of 2024. I'll turn the floor over to Mr. Webster and Ms. Holt to begin today's presentation.
Great, thank you. I'm Jordan Holt. I'm the Senior Director of Performance and Global Benchmarking at Metro, and I'm here today to talk about our quarterly service excellence report. This covers the time period of July 1st through December 31st of 2024. So this is the first 2 quarters of the fiscal year, 6-month period, and demonstrates our commitment to transparency and accountability for our progress towards our strategic plan. As I mentioned, today we're going to focus on the service excellence goal, which covers key performance indicators aligned to the 3 objectives here. Some highlights from the report are that customer satisfaction, which is the main measure we use to track progress on this goal, remains high on rail, decreased but met target on bus, but fell on Metro Access. We'll discuss a little bit more what was behind that and what we're doing about it. I like to say satisfied customers ride more, and we do see an increase in ridership over the first 6 months of fiscal year 25, and as we've heard, December marked 45 months of consecutive growth. Good news is that we know this is a key driver of customer satisfaction and ridership is perception of safety from crime. And when we measure our serious crime across the system, it is down 40% compared to where we were this time last year. And that's really good news because we've seen that sustainment through this quarter as well. Service reliability is always a focus. We hear from customers that's one of the top things we should focus on. We aren't quite meeting our target across all 3 modes here, but continue to have some actions in place to drive that number upwards. Predictions are another way that customers experience reliability and have also been a focus of staff at Metro to drive up accuracy and ensure that they're available for as many trips as possible. Pleased to share that we've seen some improvements in there, and we'll discuss that a little more. This is the full suite of performance metrics related to the service excellence goal. This report has details on all of them, but we won't talk about all of them today. We're going to speak about the ones with the plus sign that are featured. We assess our performance against targets that we've set for the fiscal year. You see here blue dots mean that we have met that target. Orange dots mean we haven't. You can also see that we do try and track if things are moving in the desired direction. So in case we aren't meeting target, or at least they're improving in the way that we would like to see. So customer satisfaction, starting with Metro Rail, I mentioned that we continued to see strong performance there. We exceeded our target, which was 85%, and is actually the target that we've set in the strategic transformation plan of where we wanted to be by 2028. So we're already meeting that. You do see, if you look at the chart, it looks like it dipped a little from last quarter. That dip is not statistically significant, so roughly equivalent. What pleases me is when perception data matches the other data that we track, the more kind of quantitative data that we track. And you see that with the perception of safety from crime. We know that had been a key kind of driver of, or kind of inhibiting sometimes our growth in customer satisfaction. We have seen really big improvements there, and that aligns with what we've seen in our decrease in Part 1 crime rate. When customers tell us, what would it take to be more satisfied and ride more, we hear continue to focus on frequent service, as well as continue to focus on that safety. On Metrobus, we met our target of 75%, just coming in at 75%. This was a statistically significant decrease compared to where we were last quarter. When we look at why customers are saying they're not satisfied, on-time performance or reliability comes to the top of the list. Continue to encourage us to focus on cleanliness. That is an area where we did see some decrease in perception, and then also continue to address crime or disorderly behavior. Metro Access is an area where we are not meeting our target. About 71% of customers said that they were satisfied with the last trip. This is a decrease in satisfaction compared to where we were last quarter and is really related to some of the reliability challenges that we've been seeing on Metro Access that I'll dive into in more detail in a few slides. Mentioned ridership, continued good news here. You see looking at this chart that, as is typical, our strongest month so far has been in October. We carried about 880,000 trips on an average day on bus and rail. I do want to call out here, just note on Metro Access, that this is really focused on ridership on the vehicles that say Metro Access. It does not include our ridership on Abilities Ride. So when we factor that in, ridership is actually higher. It's about 7% higher this fiscal year compared to where we were last fiscal year. We're working on doing a better job including that in our reporting, and you'll see that also something we're working towards in other performance metrics as well. Sorry. Okay, part one crime. It is down 40% this fiscal year compared to prior fiscal year, which continues that strong performance that we've seen kind of starting in spring of last year. The good news is it's down in all the top 4 part one crime, major part one crime types. And continues to reflect the problem-oriented policing approach, as well as the work of our crisis intervention specialists and the work to address fare evasion in our system. I know the safety of our staff, particularly against assaults, has been a big focus amongst Metro leadership and the board. The performance metric that we track as part of this goal is aligned to the Federal Transit Administration definition of this, and it's included in our agency safety plan. There's many different definitions of assault. There's assaults that count as part one crime. There's assaults that count as injuries, official kind of OSHA injuries. This is a slightly different one that aligns to FTA definitions. So looking over the last 24 months, we've seen kind of a slight increase since last December, and so far this fiscal year have had a little over about, on average, 2 per day assaults. This includes about 90% are amongst our employees and about 10% are amongst our contractors. And when we look at the employee group, the most common group to experience assaults are police officers, which would make sense, followed by bus operators. Looking at reliability, starting with Metro Access, this is an area where we've continued to miss target. I think every quarter I've come up recently, I've mentioned that, and it's a good example of our efforts to balance cost efficiency and service quality. In FY25, we began transitioning to a new contract model. We went from 3 contractors that had garages in 5 different areas across Metro, our service area, to 1 contractor with 3 garages. It doesn't sound like much, but given our service area is approximately 1,000 square miles, that difference we've seen to have an impact. Specifically, before we had, we earlier had 3 garages in Prince George's County, 1 in Montgomery County, and 1 in Arlington. And so that enabled a geographic disbursement. When we switched to the new contract model, we had 2 in Prince George's County and 1 in Arlington. So we saw that we were missing kind of an area in Montgomery County. And that led to an increase in late trips because vehicles had to travel further to pick up customers. So you see that in the line chart that we did have an uptick in December in on-time performance, and that specifically happened after we worked with our existing contractor to add a new garage in Montgomery County. So that's a great example of kind of where we've looked at the information and tried to identify and work with our contractors to find improvement, and have seen that. This story has also impacted, or this reason has also impacted the amount of missed trips we're seeing. We hold ourselves to a very high standard in Metro Access for delivering our full scheduled service with a target of missing less than 1% of trips. We haven't met that target, partially because one of the main reasons customers may choose not to take a trip is because it arrived after the pickup window. It arrived too late. And that's what we've seen here. So similarly, you see an increase in December in the fewer missed trips, so more service delivered, kind of similar to that trend that we saw in on-time performance as well after we opened that garage in Montgomery County. Looking at bus, this is an area where we've also missed target and we've seen an increase in late trips, particularly during our peak periods, with our highest level of late trips since 2019 or fiscal year 20. This is correlated with increased road congestion. It's actually not quite a coincidence that you see performance improving in November and December on this line chart, which is where we actually see a little less traffic related to people being on vacation. One tool to address late trips is to assess runtime needs. Kind of, does a bus have enough time in its schedule to complete the trip? And we do that about 2 to 3 times a year with our change in schedule. We most recently had a schedule update in December, and you see there that we did make changes to 26 routes with the aim of improving these wait times. Looking at the percent of bus service delivered, this is one where we also hold ourselves to a high standard, not quite as high as the Metro Access, but 98% is what we are targeting here. We just missed it. So put that into context, we deliver 12,000 bus trips a day, and we missed about 260 on average. So far this fiscal year, kind of when we look at why trips are missed, operator availability and vehicle availability are the main reasons. So our focus on continuing our hiring and training of bus operators is kind of the main action that we're taking here to keep that number high. While late trips continue to be a challenge in some areas, we have been focusing on sustaining improvements in the availability and accuracy of real-time information for our bus and rail customers. So you see here, we made some updates to our algorithm in August, and you can see maybe a little hard to see, but you can see a jump up in September through December. That's thanks to some of those changes we made, one of which is to better link buses with the GPS to the scheduled route. We have ways of linking that, but sometimes that linking gets broken, and the algorithm does a better job of looking at the location of the bus and matching that to a scheduled route, which then enables a prediction to be made. So that's one of the ways that the algorithm was improved in August, and we've seen that change. We also, around that time when we updated the algorithm, it also improved accuracy. And so you see also that improvement in roughly the August timeframe there as well. One of the things we've been focused on for both availability and accuracy is to include, to better have predictions when we have short-term service changes. That includes, for the first time, having predictions available for the shuttles that we provided for our rail service shutdown in December. Also looking at better ways to advance and include information about detours in our real-time information system. Closing out with rail, we had on-time performance stayed consistent through Q2, but continued to be just below the target that we had set. In addition to our efforts to maintain the system and invest in state of repair to reduce asset-related service disruptions, we've also been really focusing on automation. And that improves on-time performance by reducing variability that's introduced by manual operations. It also speeds up trips, which is great. I will say when we speed up the trip, we adjust our on-time performance standards. So we say like, hey, we expect you to actually take less time. So we hold ourselves accountable to that new standard. We have seen encouraging results from the initial rollout of ATO on the Red Line, which started at the very end of Q2, so it's not fully reflected in the results that you see here, but should be seeing that as we report on subsequent quarters. Trips are faster for Red Line customers, which is huge. Finally, closing out on prediction accuracy. Like on bus, we continue to invest in the accuracy of our rail predictions, and we implemented a suite of changes in November. One I want to call particular attention to is looking at the accuracy of predictions at our terminals. This is an area where we do see some, we've had complaints from customers, and so have been focused on it. We made particularly strong improvements in Largo, which we know is a problem where for customers kind of trying to decide on blue and silver line trains. It's an area where we tweaked our algorithm and have seen very strong improvements. So with that, I'll close the presentation and open for questions.
Thank you very, very much. I'll turn the floor over to any of the committee members and see if they have any feedback. Ms. Proctor, Martin Proctor.
Yes, good morning, just about. Thank you so much for this presentation. I know that we've kind of gone over this, but I just want to do just a quick recap with regards to Metro Access. I know that we have discussed this in detail with regards to some of the glitches that happened when you brought on a new contractor and how we made those service adjustments. Can we speak just a little bit more with regards to the things that we're doing now to make sure that we go back to that gold standard of accessibility and service that we have here with Metro Access, and how we also involve the community, particularly the AAC?
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
So as I mentioned, one of the things we did in December was adding another garage in Montgomery County. And then in January, we've actually added a second contractor who also has a garage in Montgomery County. And this was a contractor that had previously worked with us in fiscal year 24. We work closely with the AAC, have regular meetings to ensure that the customer voice and experience is elevated and understood, so we know what issues we need to be addressing, and are very transparent in our information with them. Another thing we do is because the service is mainly contractor provided, we do some regular kind of assessments of how our contractors are delivering on the procedures that we have and providing the service quality that we require. For example, during the first 6 months of fiscal year 25, we conducted over 3,700 street observations, or more than 600 a month. And when we do that, we have criteria. We're assessing kind of the operator, the drivers, and pleased to say over 88% passed their observations, surpassing our target of 85%. When a driver or a contractor fails on our observations, we work with them to provide retraining. So we had about a little over 400 opportunities for that during the fiscal year.
That is so great. Thank you so much. Just also briefly, I do understand we also have partnerships with Abilities Ride and other organizations that can help with regards to supplementing any gaps that we might have. If you could just speak to that just a little bit.
Yes, Abilities Ride is a huge partner. And as you see here, through the first 6 months of the fiscal year, represents over half of the trips that were delivered through Metro Access. That's a significant increase compared to where we were in fiscal year 24. As I mentioned, we're working on adding for example, our customer satisfaction survey is really focused on the Metro service that's provided in the Metro Access branded vehicles, but are working to add some questions about customer experience with Abilities Ride so that we can get some more data to track that over time. We do hear from our Accessibility Advisory Committee about their experience with that, and have generally it's been positive. So that's what we're working towards.
Thank you so much. Once again, this is a wonderful report. I'm really excited to see how we're making those improvements and that we are always keeping the community engaged, involved, and the center of what we're trying to do to make sure that everybody has a safe, accessible ride to whether that's to work, to school, to the doctor's appointment. And I thank you and your team for addressing those very, very small gaps because, 98%, we're right there. We still have that high gold standard level. But I know that we set measures that don't just hit the floor, but meet the ceiling. And I appreciate you and your team. And thank you so much for that report and that additional information for the community.
Thank you. Mr. McAndrew?
Thanks, Chair. And I'll echo what my colleague just said. I think this is a huge undertaking. It's a huge undertaking, and it's a good bit of information, and owning and accepting kind of where we make a decision and maybe the decision was not the right decision, and having the data help lead where we're heading. And I think that that's good and transparent, and I appreciate that. One item that I'd like to ask about is specifically, there's an appendix, and in there we're talking about rail crowding. Which is great. We're providing service that exceeds our goal of about 5%, no more than 5% of trips should be in a crowded condition. And it looks like we're well below it and have been for some time, which I think is to be expected. Love to hear kind of if we had a 5% target in, say, fiscal year 2019, how we performed against that goal, but also kind of where the trend line is heading, understanding that this one only goes out to December. If you've got any kind of raw data updates in recent days, I think would be helpful.
Great. I know we were closer to the 5% back in 2019, don't have the full number. And this is looking at all times of day across all periods. So part of this, behind this, is that, we are running more service now than we did on the weekends in particular. So that's factored in here. We do have a slightly different standard on the weekends for off-peak service. We do see this number goes a lot, it's a lot higher if you look specifically at the peaks. So like 8 to 9 a.m. is our busiest time in the morning. Afternoon, it's a little more, evening, it's a little more dispersed, but generally between like 5 and 6. And so we monitor this closely, have seen things exceeding our levels, particularly on the red line at our busiest point, which is between kind of Union Station and Metro Center. Union Station's our most crowded point in the system. Have also seen this approaching or exceeding our standards on the orange and silver line near courthouse. So it's something we monitor, and that's actually how we strategically decide to deploy 8-car trains and are trying to use that resource judiciously, but where it's needed most. So an 8-car train has 33% more capacity than a 6-car train.
And are we seeing this at the moment? I would imagine just kind of validating, or be good to kind of get a semi-real-time update in due time. But Tuesday through Thursday, or in the last couple of weeks with changes to return to office, are we seeing it start to get closer to what it was in the pre-COVID days?
Tuesday through Thursday are definitely our busiest days, and where we see the trains being the most crowded. We have been seeing an increase in ridership on Monday as well. So continue to monitor that. I don't think it's quite hitting our crowding threshold yet on Mondays. So it's really Tuesdays and through Thursdays are still the busiest. But it's something we monitor daily and are kind of looking at regularly to understand kind of what the customer experience is, and looking at the trends to see, again, when we may need to deploy more 8-car trains in particular.
Thank you.
Thank you. So 2.5 years ago, maybe 3, I posed a rhetorical question to myself. about our measures of effectiveness. And I have to tell you, looking back, I'm very, very inspired by what I've seen. We've done a great job as a team, you all have, of first defining and then refining and then executing in performance, hitting targets. So thank you very much for doing that over time. I want to also support the fact that in Metro Access, you all have been very diligent in moving forward on-time performance and customer satisfaction, recognizing that we did have a dip. And of course, there were some drivers associated with that. And you're holding your contractors accountable for doing the right thing. That focused planning and those improvements are noticed by the customers, and we appreciate that as well. I want to put in a plug for something that I've heard you talk about several times today, the Accessibility Advisory Committee, the AAC. I recently got engaged with them a couple of months ago and have had the privilege of attending their meetings. That committee and their subcommittees, specifically the Metro Access Subcommittee and the Bus Rail Subcommittee, are run extremely professionally, and they are effective in defining their challenges, articulating those challenges, and really solving problems in collaboration with Metro. And I want to say thank you to Team Metro for responding to them, and thank you to the AAC for being so professional in what you do. Beyond that, I will look around and see if there are any other questions or comments. Hearing and seeing none. Yes, please.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I definitely won't stretch this. A couple of things I just want to make a comment on performance, which be, I really appreciate all the board's comments. One, I want you all, the board and the public at large to know, myself, the senior team, where we are at Metro Access is still not acceptable enough, where I think we made a big kind of positive hook in December. We need to continue that trend. We got to get it back to our standard and quite frankly, elevate past that. So I've spent some time recently with some members of our AAC as well. So I just don't want people to not realize that is definitely a focus area for us. So I think we worked hard on a contract. It's delivering in some ways very well, in other ways it's not. And so I think I really want to, Christian Blake is doing an incredible job of trying to constantly iterate and work on that. So I want to acknowledge that. On the bus side, as soon as the weather broke, basically, I don't know if anyone noticed, the switch literally turned off 3 days ago. Spring's here. But literally spring is, I'm sorry, the season of spring is here. And bus really does get a lot more activity once the weather happens, a lot more discretionary trips, if you will. So we know that bus service is critical to the entire region, and that's why we put so much effort in it. I think we're very excited about Better Bus Network redesign, but there's also daily work going on some of our corridors, specifically our busiest corridors, where we get some gapping and bunching issues. So there's an enormous amount of work going on that. I'm on the bus, I probably did 4 bus trips this week. I'm on a line that probably has maybe one of the higher gapping and bunching issues. So I will just reassure the board that at the control center and the divisions, that is a very top of mind topic. And we're thinking of where we could maybe move from some time point management to headway style management on some of our routes to let the operators kind of help self-manage the lines a little bit. So we're working through kind of some of that. I just wanted everyone to know that we're really working on bus, and we expect bus ridership to continue to accelerate. And then lastly, to board member McAndrew's question, we are constantly looking at the daily real time, and maybe at the end of this week we'll send something to the board, but we're really starting to see pinch points in the AM and PM. And I think Jordan mentioned the red line from basically DuPont to Rhode Island is especially AM and PM peak. And you can see it on just quite frankly with Twitter complaints. That's where the crowding is. The Clarendon / West Farragut West area. But the other area that is, I think, very noticeable, and I think we supplied some of this to the board in some materials, is above Mount Vernon on the green line, where it's one single line around Columbia Heights, kind of Petworth. We actually have higher crowding now than we did pre-pandemic in that corridor. So we're averaging more people per vehicle now than actually pre-pandemic. So it shows that area has not only continued to grow in ridership, but the service levels are less than what we provided with the 2 lines versus 1. So the part that we're really trying to balance there is 8-car train sets. And in the last week, Brian Shashil and that team have really delivered 8-car train sets. Jordan's team and Peter have really said, we need an 8-car train here, not here. And to match that up with yard operations is complex. And we finally, I think, got that agility down. So we're starting to get if an 8:15 arrival at Foggy Bottom needs an 8-car train set, and 8:32 needs a 6, we're getting closer and closer to making sure that 8 and 6 are perfectly at those times. But again, I'll get through it in my GM report. The ridership growth we're seeing in the last 2 weeks alone is accelerating even past what we can manage with the 8-car train sets. By the way, great problem to have as a transit agency, but nonetheless something that we're going to continue to have to manage basically at a daily level. So, but I really appreciate that comment. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Randy. With no further items to come before the committee today, we stand adjourned, and the plan is to take a quick break before beginning the Board of Directors meeting. We'll see you back
5 minutes.
about 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Valerie Santos, Chair of the WMATA Board. Thank you for being here today. And again, apologies that we're been running a little bit behind. We'll begin with the approval of the agenda. I would like to consider the agenda approved with one update, which is that our employee spotlight could not, our honoree could not be with us today, so we will postpone until we can recognize her next month. Are there any objections to the agenda as amended? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Thank you. We have 3 sets of minutes for approval, the January 30 board meeting, as well as the executive sessions for January 30th and February 13th. I would like to consider these minutes approved as presented. Any objections? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Thank you. Now for public comment and reports by our advisory bodies who will be joining us virtually today. So we also received 2 public comments in advance, so I will ask our staff to please play those now.
Good morning. This is Joel Ryerson. I live in Prince George's County. I'm really concerned about that proposal that you approved. You don't have no other choice except Metro Access. Except that the bus service is on the Delphi Road. You're going to eliminate that bus route and have a new bus route, which is not too good for me. I don't have access to that bus line. And I'm sorry that either the bus operators or the union was in that meeting. I didn't know if they had been or not. And hopefully they hopefully this Metro Access works out okay with me. And I'm kind of upset. I'm sorry about the situation on the C8 bus. Didn't like that idea. That's all I have to say. You have a good day.
And traveling to D.C. either for a weekend or to New York City for a weekend or for a trip on Amtrak or Reagan or Dulles, it would be helpful to have remote parking at Ashburn Station if there is additional unutilized space for overnight parking for either weekends or a week at a time. This would improve metro ridership. It would probably create money for utilization of the parking garage and take congestion off the roads driving to D.C. to use Amtrak, Reagan, or Dulles. An overnight fee could be charged in addition to the daily fee, and you could pick up and either have a Metro card included or just have it separate to get to the destination, whether it's the Union Station, Reagan, or Dulles. Thank you for your consideration. As I noticed when I went to the Ashburn Station to try this, that they said no overnight parking. It's just something that you would consider. Please get back with me and have a nice day. God bless you. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, thank you for those comments. Next, we'll hear from our Accessibility Advisory Committee Chair, Pat Sheehan, who I think is virtual. Yeah. Pat, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak to you virtually today. I wasn't able to get down there for this meeting today. A couple of things, and I'll move fairly quickly through them. The first thing I'd like to do is thank the board for their attention to Metro Access. I mean, the discussion that you guys had this morning was spot on. Appreciate the the detailed information that was presented by Jordan and the interest by the board. Don, I think there's a lot of good work that's being done with respect to Metro Access, and we certainly appreciate that. We have the AAC has great confidence in the ability of us to move Metro Access back to an on-time performance that we can all be proud of, and we're working together to make that done. On the positive side, I'm very pleased to say that the new vans we took a look at this past week, and we were extremely pleased with them. The seats were nice and comfortable. There was plenty of room for 2 wheelchairs. I think we looked at 2 separate vans that had two similar configurations, and we were very pleased with them. I also like the rollout plan of getting 50 of the vehicles, seeing how they work, seeing what the ride is going to be like. But everybody, particularly the folks who were in wheelchairs, thought that the accommodations were great. Also, I noted that there was plenty of room if we needed it for service animals. So I would say a job well done with respect to that. The other thing, and I think it was noted earlier also, WayMap, the rollout for WayMap, accessibility mapping of the metro system. This is the first system in the country that that this has been done on, and I think that it's a fabulous system. We've got a lot of input from the blind community in Virginia, DC, and Maryland. Something we're going to continue to use. Something we're going to continue to test. And Tom Pay and his group should be real pleased and proud of what they've accomplished here. I know the next stop is going to be LA, but it certainly was nice to be first with the with this project coming into the metro system. I know they want us to expand it out, and so we're interested to see how we can improve this version and go forward with version 2.0 for WayMap. The AAC, of course, attended the hearings. In general, I think the testimony was, they were very pleased with being able to keep the area of Metro Access, the bus and the rail, and what we're seeing with respect to the work being done on DMV moves to make it into a regional type system. I think that that's going forward nicely, and they're very pleased about that. Ms. Martin Proctor, I'm very pleased that you're interested in Metro Access. Thank you so much for your interest, and certainly members of my committee will be very pleased to be involved in giving whatever information we can give you with respect to our experiences on Metro Access. I think that there's a lot going on, and we certainly invite you and other board members to come to our meetings. I just responded to your email today. Somehow it got buried in my voluminous inbox, but thank you so much for your interest, and we're certainly willing to help in whatever way we can. Those are the main areas that I think that we covered January, February timeframe. Are there any questions for me?
I don't see
If there are
any.
no-
Thank you,
All
Pat.
right. Thank you very much.
Next, we would have our RAC chair, Cole Stout, make a report, but he was not able to participate today, so this concludes our advisory body reports. So now on to the chair's report, which is I'd like to recognize a longtime Metro employee who is retiring this month, Phil Staub, who is unfortunately under the weather, but joining us virtually, I think. Phil has been with Metro for over 30 years and currently serves as Senior Counsel for Governance and Human Capital in the Office of the General Counsel. And as many of you may be aware, Phil has also served as the board's ethics officer for the past 10 years. We would like to take this opportunity to publicly thank him for his work at Metro and as the board's ethics officer. Yes, there he is. He has provided thoughtful guidance on ethics guidance throughout his tenure, and we are very grateful for his service. He will definitely be missed. Would anyone like to say a few words?
Well, Phil, I'm not sure you're necessarily going to be greatly missed, but and you know the reason why. No, in all seriousness, you know, I came into this and it was a very interesting time at WMATA. And your steady hand, along with others in the legal department, really helped get the board in particular and other things back on track. And so just really always personally thought a lot of you and, you know, wanted to publicly thank you for that because it really was a very, very challenging time. And I think, you know, you deserve a lot of credit for guiding us in the right way through you and Patty both, and very challenging situations. So I wanted to say that, and you know, and you will be missed. You were a steady hand, and you know, just a calm presence when things needed that kind of approach. So thank you very much, even though you didn't let me go to ice cream socials.
Anybody else, please?
Phil, this is Don Drummer. After serving in the federal government for a number of years, I thought I really understood ethics. And you really opened my eyes to some new avenues of approach, you and Patty. So thank you very much for your service to WMATA. Thank you for your service, period. And thank you for keeping us out of trouble. All the best to you in the future.
Madam Chair. So Phil, what are you going to do?
I don't know what I'll possibly do without you. No, I want to thank everyone for the kind words and especially for your patience. This was a new role when I took it. And I feel like we grew together. And I very much enjoyed my opportunity to provide guidance as you guys requested it. Enjoyed our training sessions, and I'm looking forward to new and different challenges in my next chapter. Thank you.
You know, Phil, and one thing I forgot to mention, just appreciated you and the legal team working with Jennifer and her team to help streamline things and get forms aligned, and that, you know, has been very, very helpful and a good approach for us. So thank you for that.
Definitely a team effort with Jennifer and her group and others in legal.
Yep.
And thank you.
Hi, Phil. This is Board Member Martin Proctor, and I just wanted to real quickly just say thank you. I remember my onboarding process, and it was during the midst of COVID, and we were doing things online, and you were so kind and so helpful with regards to delineating the various other community activities and organizations that I was involved in, and making sure that there was no appearance of impropriety or we weren't crossing any lines, and how to make all of that work in sense. And I just truly appreciated that. It made me feel welcomed coming onto the board, and you were a big part of that. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And it's, I understand that board members have many things, other things going on in their lives, and their patience and interest in their ethics responsibilities have really made this job very easy.
Great. Thank you, Phil. I would also like to note that following Phil's retirement, Senior Counsel Lori Hand will take on the role of Board Ethics Officer.
She's here.
There you are. Thank you. We look forward to working with you. Next, I would like to thank our customers and stakeholders who joined us for our 4 public or budget hearings and our other budget input activities earlier this month. By being involved in the process, we have a better understanding of our community's perspectives, and we can make better budget decisions with our limited, finite resources. We looked forward to the robust report out on the public participation process next month, and the board will be adopting the budget in coming weeks. Finally, I would like to recognize that February is Black History Month. It is an opportunity to spotlight and celebrate the achievements and contributions that African Americans have accomplished in this country. We can take a moment today to honor Black heroes and pioneers who have shaped our world. One of those heroes is Rosa Parks. As a fitting tribute, we celebrated and honored her legacy on her birthday, February 4th, which is also known as Transit Equity Day, and the same day Metrobus was founded in 1973. Rosa Parks became a key figure in the civil rights era when she refused to give up her seat on a segregated Montgomery, Alabama public transit bus, and she was arrested in 1955. Metro is committed to providing equitable access to transportation, and because the communities we serve are stronger when everyone has access to reliable and affordable transportation. Public transportation, as we all know, connects people to jobs, healthcare, schools, cultural and recreational experiences, groceries, housing, all parts of what make up high quality of life in our region, and we're always striving to eliminate barriers to transit. This concludes my report, and I will now turn the floor over to our GM for his report. Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll make mine relatively quickly here. I want to, again, thank Phil for all of his years of service. He also gives great ethics advice to staff members as well. So, Phil, enjoy the next adventure. We'll miss you. Want to start off and talk about service excellence. So big thing is ridership. I think this goes a little bit to what Board Member McAndrew mentioned, which is what's going on recently. So while George's report was the end of December, now we're at 46 months, and we're going to close in on 47 here in a couple days. Tuesday was our busiest AM rush hour in almost 5 years. Monday was a high at 34 stations. So Mondays, as you recall, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays were getting busier, but now Monday and Fridays are getting pretty significantly busy as well. We had 10 records for Tuesday and Wednesday at different stations, and a few I want to call out, and I think this is really important. So I actually put a little note about this out publicly. NOMA had its busiest day 2 days ago, but then we beat it again yesterday. So NOMA had, we're getting close to 30,000 trips at NOMA. And if you really think about what NOMA was 20 years ago, a little bit, Madam Chair, you're a lot of roles you used to have. I think it just is such a demonstration of great transit and great community-oriented development and what really can come together. NOMA is clearly one of the better examples of transit-oriented development in the history of the United States, and it's great to see such a mixed ridership base using that station. The other one I want to highlight is the Pentagon. So I think it's lost on people how much Metro is a part of the national security framework of the country. When we're moving 23,000 plus people to the Pentagon a day, the Pentagon is the front line of our national security, and we move people there. So, it goes to show Metro is, we move a lot of people for a lot of purposes, but one of the big things we do here is national security, and it's very unique to this region. Yesterday, Union Station was always our busiest station, and Foggy Bottom took that lead for a long last couple of years. Foggy's still close, but Union Station went over 40,000 trips yesterday, so that's the highest in 5 years. And I assume, I haven't checked in, but I assume that's a great sign for MARC trains. It's a great sign for Amtrak trains. Just the overall interaction at Union Station is fantastic. It wasn't that long ago. I remember people were saying Union Station's dead. Well, obviously, the days of Union Station being dead are long behind. And I think that shows the future vibrancy of why we need a really good, thoughtful strategy about Union Station long term. So I want to highlight those numbers. The next slide is we had a combined graduation ceremony last Friday. I want to thank the chair, Board Member Drummer, Board Member Lowe for being in attendance, and Board Member Aguirre was there as well. We had a lot of people, a lot of family members. We had almost 100 new bus operators, 4 supervisors. Bus line platform instructors is the first kind of level of management in bus. Equipment operators and car maintenance, so those are rail vehicle maintainers, which take a long time to get through. I think that one's almost 2 full years for certification. But it's a great example of all these graduation ceremonies of being about one Metro, one team delivering one mission for the region and bringing us closer together. So again, just really appreciate the board members being there. I think it's really appreciated by the staff when they see that much attention by board and senior executive for kind of that special moment that they're kicking off their career. The next slide, please, is about regional opportunity and partnership. I want to thank Erica Cunningham specifically, lots of team members, but Erica really has taken the mantle here from Barbara Molden and some others on our Philibus program we do every year. We did almost 47,000 meals donated this year. I went out with the team on a Saturday packing, unloading groceries. We had a full Metro bus of groceries to unpack that people donated at Giant, and then donations here by staff members. Just really appreciate the entire team jumping in. It's sad that we need this much support in our community, one of the richest areas in the richest country in the world. But with that said, the food bank does extraordinary work, and we're just really happy to partner with them. So this is the 7th year. We really increased the volume this year, and we look forward to setting even a higher goal next year to do more with the food bank as they really support this region. Couple updates I want to give you. I try to give an update to the board on some of these strategic initiatives that we're working on. One of them is Metro Pulse. Judd is, and a lot of people, and Sarah's heavily involved leading this effort. But this is really trying to move us to this app that is not only better for trip planning and fares and all those types of things, but also allows us to get into kind of crowdsourcing of information and real-time communication on things like maintenance issues or things of that nature, so we get resolved even faster and have more people actually taking ownership of the system. So we're now in beta. I'm actually going to put a note out later. We're going to be looking for beta testers. We're going to select a group. We want to do another round of that, but we want to roll this out hopefully by late spring on Apple, Android, and really start driving even a higher level of customer communication. What's in their hand to tell us what's going on. So the team is working hard on that. The next one is our ERP, our Metro Sync program. The board's been updated about this many times. We're still generally on target, specifically for all the HR functionalities. This is a big deal for us as an organization, uplifting an incredibly old, antiquated HR and finance system. So overall, going pretty well. There are a couple modules that I think are much more complex than the kind of the vendors are used to doing, Oracle in this case, but things where the team is working on to try to, again, continue to get schedule, but also we have some unique FTA requirements that we have to meet that are very different than, quite frankly, not anyone in transit, just any one period. And I think there's a level of complexity we're working through there. But generally speaking, the HR modules and the 32 finance modules are on target. So we look forward to continuing to give more updates to the board as we roll that out. On regional coordination, I think board member, again, you might have asked a question about this the other day, actually. So overall, on target. We're working very closely with our regional partners on this. A lot of training underway. We've already had 1,200 employees trained, and we're getting a very good turnout for employees volunteering for their shifts to get trained, which we appreciate. The big thing here now is our signage effort. So we're working really closely with a lot of our partners. March 3rd, we will start implementing our temporary signs, and we're starting in Fairfax on the F routes. One thing to note on these signs that I think really goes to the board's strategic plan, the word around accessibility. We're, I believe, the first agency that's going to use dynamic text sizing. And the idea here is a lot of the font sizes on these signs might be almost double what we use now. So really creating a much better experience for customers and providing better sightline and visibility for our signs out on the system. And we're doing this, of course, with all of our regional bus partners too, to try to get rid of some sign clutter and more organization for better integrated customer kind of information. But those are the, I think I have one more as well. No, that is it. Look at that. We're doing so much, I kind of forgot where I was on that slide. So with that, again, just really appreciate all the hard work of the staff. It looks like we're done in winter. The staff had a really challenging winter with a lot of security events, and they managed them really well. And we really just appreciate so many people back being on the system, trying to provide the best service for the region. So happy to take any questions or comments, Madam Chair.
Any questions for the general manager? Maybe just a quick comment, which is thanks for the update, super helpful, and appreciate as well the mention of better bus coordination, because I know at least expressed to myself and Director Worth, there was just questions, no problem, but just wanting reassurance that the Metro team is on it, and I feel confident that there is a SWAT team of sorts. So if there's anything else you want to add to that, I know there's going to be a presentation next week. Do you have there's an oversight hearing and other things happening where we'll talk more about it, but.
Yeah, well, thank you. Well, one, again, we'll reiterate the partner collaboration. So probably the two closest partners are are probably DDOT and Prince George's County, but with that said, every other partner is involved as well. As far as I'm aware, we had a pretty deep dive at our senior executive team on Friday. What we actually appointed is Mike Birch as basically our lead coordinator for the entire effort. And Mike's job is to kind of be the better bus czar, for lack of a better term thrown out. And so he's coordinating across all the departments. We will have myself, senior staff, we welcome board. June 29th is our go live date. Every member of the management team, more or less, will be out in the field for 2 straight days, interacting with customers. I mean, there's a chance we're going to have a few little things here that are wrong. This is a gigantic change. It's the biggest one ever attempted in the country. And we're trying to get better performance. At the same time, the circulator doesn't exist anymore and the growth there, plus this ridership increases at the same time. But we're generally feeling good about it. There's some work, obviously, I think the DDOT effort has been, I think, especially should be recognized with the amount that the ANC notification process on bus stop changes. There's a lot of process around that. It's not just say move the sign. And really appreciate, Director Worth is, I think, fully aware of this, and Director Osborne, and the whole team, I think, is very much in sync. So we'll make sure. One of the things we're committed to is we're going to continue to give you updates on that. The thing we would ask is if you hear anything from any stakeholder that doesn't seem right, just please let us know. The earlier the better with this thing, because we'll run out of days at some point. And we're going to do a lot of field activity. And one thing we've said to elected officials is if you could put it in your newsletters and things you're doing to tell people about information, we would really appreciate that. So thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Now we'll turn to reports by the jurisdictions. Director Worth.
Yes, Mayor Bowser is inviting DC residents to join her annual budget engagement forums. It's an opportunity for residents to share their values and priorities before she sends her budget over to council. And this budget that I'm referring to is the FY26 budget that starts on October 1st for us, for the district. There's 2 forums. There's one tonight at Rosedale Recreation Center. It starts at 5:30 p.m. And there's also another one on Saturday, this Saturday, March 1st at 11:30 a.m. at the Kennedy Recreation Center.
Okay, thank you. Director Smedberg on Virginia.
No report, Madam Chair.
Director McAndrew, anything? Or Director Drummer?
Yes, from Prince George's County, the Department of Public Works and Transportation, called DPW&T, is seeking public feedback on its transit system branding, namely the bus, call a cab, and Prince George's Link. The goal is to improve branding of these networks, and the public's insight are incredibly valuable to that process. You can find a link to the survey on DPW&T's social media pages, and be on the lookout for some announcements concerning this initiative in the coming weeks. Thank you.
Additional updates from the state of Maryland. The Purple Line Project is supporting small businesses, cities, and community groups along the route affected by construction by initiating a 4-year, $4 million grant program. Organizations within 1/4 mile of the route can qualify for grants of up to $500,000. The first round of applications is due March 14th and can be found at purplelinemd.com. Also, today, the Montgomery County Department of Transportation is hosting 2 public information workshops related for sidewalk projects that will provide last mile pedestrian connections to said project, the Purple Line. One was this morning concerning the Tacoma Langley Purple Line Station sidewalks. The other is tonight and focused on the Piney Branch Purple Line sidewalk proposal. Tonight's meeting is from 6:30 to 8:30 at the Rolling Terrace Elementary School in Tacoma Park. I encourage folks to join if they want. Thank you.
Thank you. And Director Martin Proctor for the federal government.
Hi, yes, thank you so much. The federal government report this afternoon would like to highlight that this month in 1961 was the swearing in of the Federal Highway Administration. We'd also like to call attention to the fact that during this time, this month, Carmen E. Turner became the first Black woman to lead a major transit agency, WMATA, here. And under her tenure, Metro grew from 70 million up to 70 million passengers. And we now currently have our training administration center is named for her in Hyattsville, Maryland. Ms. Turner also then, upon her retirement in early 1990s, became the undersecretary for the Smithsonian Institution. And another small light note for everybody that may or may not know this, I want to highlight our current board member, Director April Rye. You can read about her in her bio. She is an amazing individual. But little known fact, April Rye also is a Tier 1 ASL interpreter. So if you ever want to speak to her in ASL, she provides that accessibility services. And she actually moves forward with regards to promoting transportation among individuals with disabilities, veterans, and women in this world of transportation. And that concludes our federal report for today. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Director. All right, with no further business to come before the board, we stand adjourned. Thank you for joining us today. We will now move to board executive session. In accordance with the bylaws, I, Valerie Santos, request that the Board of Directors convene in an executive session to discuss the following matters pursuant to Article 2, Paragraph 9, subsections A, budgetary matters that may affect legal positions, WMATA contracts, or sensitive relationships with local jurisdictions in the federal government, and C, personnel or labor issues, including discussions of labor contract, labor negotiations, consideration of interviews or interviews of candidates for employment, and the assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, or resignation of individuals, and F, safety and security matters when premature release would compromise public safety. Is there a second? Thank you, Director McAndrew. All in favor? Okay, any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much.